Hi, everybody. My name is Manan Puri, and I'm the co-founder of Strategy for GMAT. Today in Musings, the alumni journey of alums from top B schools, I have with me Rotman alum, Viveck Panjabi, who hails from India and has significant international experience. And currently, he's working in the equity research space, and he's also a CFA. So interesting career choices to go for an MBA post that, and we'll know in terms of why he eventually went into equity research post a CFA and then an MBA. So thank you, Vivek, for joining us. And before we start, could you please give us a quick introduction?
Thank you, Manan. Thank you so much for having me here. Really glad to have this opportunity to convey my story. My background is I did my undergrad in the US, 4-year undergrad in finance business degree, and after that I was given 3 months to look for a job, and it was a short time, and the opportunities that were coming my way weren't the best. So I decided to move back home to India and start working there and be with family. So I did a couple of roles, started from corporate finance and BDO, then moved into fixed income research and equity research. It was a culmination of 7 years of experience. It was CFA along the way, which really helped my career. And after some time, I always knew I wanted to come back to US or Canada for an MBA degree. I just felt that working in this part of the world was a better experience from one of my internships. And from a long-term perspective, I just decided, that I would want to settle down here. So when I started looking for B schools, I was really looking for somewhere that I could just, migrate. So I was considering Singapore, Australia, and Canada. And of those, Canada seemed the best option because of, the opportunity is family, a bunch of things. So I really did my research around why I want to go to a country. Like I was very certain of that, not only just because of migration, also because of the other factors. Like, is the experience good? Is the work experience good? Do you have family there? Can you make a living? Can you make, like, do you see yourself living there? I think that's one thing students should do. And once I came into Rotman, I can talk about that later, but it was a wonderful journey of 2 years, and something came my way, and I decided to take that role, and I really see myself living in Canada for long term.
Oh, that's great, and that's a similar sentiment that I'm getting with a lot of international applicants. And one thing, obviously, as you pointed out, it's not just getting a degree from there, but you have to basically live there, and for some time before you make the switch. Uh, so how did you sort of zero in between, you said Australia, Singapore, and Canada, and then why Rotman, in that sense?
Sure. From my undergrad experience, my undergrad was in Arizona. It was a small town school. So after that, I'd gone to New York to find a job, and I was in a big city. So I started looking at Columbia, New York. Just when I was there, start visiting them, and I was in awe of these universities in large cities. So post that, I was like, if I ever come back, I want to go to a large city. So that was my own personal aspirant. I just felt the network was bigger, the opportunities was there. Hence, when I was looking at places, it was always like Singapore, Australia, also the big city. And then when I was looking at Canada, it was definitely Toronto, just because it had the largest market for financial services. You always have to look at what you're trying to do out of the MBA, and then where's your biggest opportunity. Okay. So when I zeroed in on these three, then it came down to, okay, which school has a good program? What do I need to do to get in? At that time, I was thinking to take the GMAT, but then Rotman was also allowing a waiver for CFA students, level 3 students, and I had that. And I just felt like, what, at least I can get the waiver and waive my GMAT and then focus on the other softer aspects of the application, which are very important as well. So once I did that, and as I said, I have family in Canada. It just felt like a more logical choice for me because I'm already well versed with the US. So Canada is a bit different, but it's not too far away from the North American big country out here. And yeah, so zeroed in on Canada, and then once I came here, I applied to Rotman and Schulich. You always have to have a plan B, I would say. It's important, and do your research for both plan A and plan B. Just don't be like, oh, Rotman's my only choice, so I'm only going to look at Rotman and not Schulich. That's a mistake I think a lot of students do, which I did my homework on both.
Great. And how did you go about preparation for especially Rotman in terms of the essay, the interviews? It's a video essay as well, or a video interview also. So how did you go about that?
Sure, that's a great question actually. Coming to the crux of it, I would recommend a couple of approaches to students. First being, I feel like you need to speak to a lot of alumni. Okay, I spoke to at least 7 to 8 people from Rotman, past friends, and different profiles. Like one was a finance guy, one was a consulting guy, just to know everyone's perspective. Because as a pass out of Rotman, everyone's experience here is different. Okay, so first is speaking to a lot of alumni. Second is seeing the question and realizing that whether you can put a essay by yourself together. And then once I looked at that and the amount of work that was there, I was like, there's no way I can do this by myself. So I reached out to an educational consultant. And after doing my homework, I zeroed in on somebody in Mumbai, and he really helped me with my application. Third was, once you decide on schools, you need to really research on the opportunities that are there post the MBA. So what are the companies like that come to the school? What is the starting average salary? And here's a mistake that I think students do is when they look at that, for example, if they want to go to consulting or finance, they only look at the top A firms, tier A firms, and don't look at, oh, what if I don't get in the tier A? What is my plan B, plan C, and what are those companies and salaries like? So that's something that students need to do as well while applying, so that you get realistic. Okay. And the last choice was recommendations. Recommendations is also a very important part. Speaking to your colleagues or your bosses or your seniors and asking for that recommendation and trying to piece everything together. So I touched on 4 different points, and each of these are very important. Okay. So dwelling into, I can dwell into further. So with the essay, you have to do a lot of, for the essay, I recommend that, when you write your essay, you have it read by multiple people, friends, maybe family if you would like. But the educational consultant, you really have to explain your story well. It's a back and forth dialogue. I think my essay was edited at least like 4 times. I showed it to a few of current Rotman students and alumni. And that's a mistake that I think students don't do, is they don't show it to people at Rotman and they think, you know what, I'm pretty confident. I've got a 700 plus. This is my GPA. This is my work experience. I work at the top B schools, top finance firms, and all of this. And they don't focus on that. So really showing that essay to everyone is key. And then after your essay is submitted, then you really have to work on interview prep before, even though you haven't heard back from the school, I guess just prepping for the interview is important, because I guess Rotman's process now is they give you a video interview first, Kira. It's on Kira. And essentially, many people haven't done it. So you got to pretty much wear a suit and talk into a camera. And it's, I think, 3 questions where you're given a minute each. And they'll ask you a question like something about your life or something about just generally, and you really got to speak into a camera, smile, really be clear, concise. So the way I went about interview for this is I literally spoke to past alumni. I got a different set of questions of what have been asked to various batches of people at Schulich and Rotman. So I just got the flavor of what's going on. Used Google as a tool to understand what are the past questions asked at other B schools, just generally what is Kira all about. Okay. Then second is I practice these set of questions with my education consultant coach. Okay. He really asked me those questions. I took 30 seconds, put my thoughts on a pen and paper, just quickly, high level, 1 words, and then I started narrating it to himself. Within 30 seconds, he stopped me. He's like, okay, you know what? Here's what you're doing wrong. So probably some mistakes is people don't smile enough. They ramble too much. You got to keep it clear and concise and logical. You got to have like a step 1, step 2, step 3 prone approach. So these are the common mistakes that I want students to avoid and focus on.
Great. Thank you so much on that. Now, just tell us a bit more about your experience at Rotman in terms of how has that enabled you to continue or reach a greater height in terms of your equity research career so far. What exactly does Rotman offer that appealed to you, obviously, in the first place, and then how was that 2-year journey been so far?
Sure. So to be really honest, Manan, when I came to Rotman, my pitch and my story was I wanted to do consulting. Okay. I pitched like I want to do consulting, and this was my MBA to change it. And at that time also, I was very new to consulting, so I was like, you know what, if it doesn't work out, finance is always my fallback option because that's what I excel in and I know. So came here, and one advice I started getting from alumni is the minute you get in, enjoy the city, but also start reaching out to second years. Since it's a 2-year program, Rotman has the advantage of having second years in the college as well. Okay. So you have to reach out to a lot of second years, just to understand each one's story. So you talk to a consulting person that worked at probably McKinsey or KPMG or Deloitte. And then in finance, you talk to someone who worked in investment banking over the summer, research, or other roles. Okay. So this is the first thing I did. The second thing that I did was try to understand what Rotman is all about in the first year. So it's all about grades for the first year. For the first 6 months, your grades determine your interviews pretty much. You got to get like a 3.7 plus out of 4 GPA, and the people with the highest grades get shortlisted. So interviews for internships is a combination of grades, networking, and really knowing your goals and doing your research well enough so that when you go to network with this people on the street, you know what say investment banking looks like typical day, like a basic, and then you ask him questions about his experience. I guess as a first year, we've been told that unless you don't speak with a couple of second years, don't go out. So for 2 months, we were told that just talk to us and then start reaching out to people, say in like October when the program started in August. So you get that 2 month window. So coming back to what's Rotman all about, first year is pretty much all about academics, grades, case competitions, joining clubs, you know, projects, group projects. It's the first year is decided by Rotman in terms of the courses you take, when does it end. You have no choice. I think the last 2 months of the first year is when you can take electives, and you get to take only 3 electives. So pretty much, I would say first year is your typical MBA decided by Rotman in terms of course structure, timing, and scheduling. And second year is all about electives. Okay, second year is all about you want to focus on finance courses, consulting courses, and then second year you can probably do a part-time job because it's more light. You can work around it. You can do summer classes, winter classes, and pretty much lighten up your course load in the second year. But first year is so important because that's when you work with a lot of team. That's where you make friendships. That's where you network the most, I would say, and you focus on that internship, because if you get an internship and you get a pre-placement offer, then pretty much you're good to go in the second year. It's just a breeze. But for people like me, I didn't have an offer because I interned in equity research, and equity research is a space that does not give pre-placement offer. It's just because the way the business model works. Okay. And in terms of numbers, out of a 350 batch of mine, I would say less than 100 people had their pre-placement offers. And in class of 2020, I would say that number would be close to 50 to 60 people out of 350. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember on the top of my head.
Oh, that's great. And now, why MBA for an equity research role? Because, typically the path for the equity research folks is a CFA is more than enough. That's at least the myth or the practice out there. So typically, people who get into an MBA after that role don't end up in an equity research role or make a career in that. What are your thoughts on this?
Sure, that's a great question again. Um, well, when I decided to make the switch from consulting to finance and pursue finance, in Rotman, like everybody else, you join the Rotman Finance Association and the clubs, the Asset Management Association, and you're in awe of investment banking and buy side at the large firms like OTBP or CBBIB. And I was one of those as well, And obviously, I had my reasons why investment banking is because of my prior corporate finance experience. So I was like, you know what, trying that in Canada would be a great start to my career. But what students don't realize is that investment banking is one of the most competitive fields, not only in Rotman at Canada, it's around the world. The numbers look like I think 9 or 10 students from my year got full-time offers in investment banking out of a class of 350. That's like less than 5%. Okay, and those people that got in, had great GPAs, great networking skills, and it's very difficult sometimes for people coming from international countries with even prior IB experience to just crack IB. They'll be like, I've done investment banking in this country, but what they don't realize is that Canada really wants you to have their experience, more locally. So once that didn't work out, then as I said, I always have a plan A, B, and C in place. So I went to my other options where I can really see myself making a career, and equity research was one of them because of my prior experience in CFA, and I decided to pursue that. While people think that, oh yes, going back to your question was why do I do an MBA for equity research? MBA is done purely for the reasons of networking and grooming yourself in different ways. It's not from an educational perspective, but from more a soft skill perspective, making a network with people, understanding how to communicate in a different setting, work with different people in those all things very much place an importance. I think that's the MBA. Studying, your basic core finance courses and accounting courses, again, that's not an MBA. So out of all the people in my batch, I did 200 coffee chats, like 100 in the first year and then 100 in the second year. And I had a very structured approach to my coffee chats while networking. Canada is a very coffee chat culture. They want you to talk to them. It's not like India or other countries where can you ask someone to pass your resume around and it goes in and you get an interview. It's pretty much reach out to someone, understand his experience, kind of get realistic about what he does, what do you want to do, why, and are you really interested. So in 30 minutes you got to show that your interest to that person, and if he kind of thinks you're there, then he'll recommend you to talk to his colleague, or he'll recommend you push your resume forward. So that's how it works. In coming down to the crux, it's if you apply for a job in Canada, they want to put a name to a face. That's it. It's pretty much that. So I did 200 coffee chats, try to meet people in the financial services in different firms, and from boutique to the biggest. I think that's another mistake students do is they just go for the big banks, big firms, and they're like, you know what, I want to work only at this. But that's I think a wrong approach. I did an internship at a boutique shop, and my manager was quit that job in the middle of my internship and moved to a larger firm like Raymond James. And he actually took me with him, even though an intern, because within a month I'd proven that, I can really help. So he had taken me and I completed my internship at a larger firm. So, I got the experience of two different firms within one internship, which is very rare for students. So yeah, these are the things that I would recommend to students.
Okay, great. Thanks. I think that has been pretty helpful, I'm sure, for people who are looking at careers in finance. And one, it's not just the big names, as you said, or the more glossy careers such as IB or PE, etc. There are other things within corporate finance, FP&A, etc., which also are pretty cool careers in general.
Yes.
And I'm sure people will resonate to that. I think this has been very helpful to people. Any parting thoughts for candidates as they are looking for now MBA options or coming to Rotman or Canada in general?
Well, given this situation where we are right now, I will definitely say that even though you're coming to Canada without for an MBA or just on the PR, the post-pandemic things have significantly changed the market. I know people from my class who are 9 months, into the market, who graduated and are still looking for jobs, and it's very difficult. And there are people who've come on PR, and they're like, I've not done an MBA, but I've done equity research, I've done banking, I've done consulting, and they come and try to get a job here, and it's getting very difficult for people. So one advice I would be is get realistic, do your homework, and talk to a lot of people when you come here or before, so that you know what's the expectation like, and come with an open attitude. I think coming with an open attitude is very important. Canada is an amazing country. The diversity out here is fantastic. People are very sweet. It's not like some other countries where you go and people don't want to help. Rotman or non-Rotman students will definitely help you in any way to meet the ends of the world. And honestly, you'll have a great experience. You'll have those dreamy Christmas, white Christmas, in Canada. The country is beautiful. I definitely recommend people that want to come to Canada, speak to Manan. He's been a great person that I've been chatting with. He really understands Rotman. He's spoken to a lot of people. If you want to come, if you really want to think about, is really MBA required, reach out to me, reach out to people like us, and really understand, where does the MBA fit in your story. Why Canada specifically? Canada is a great country, guys. I mean, I can't speak less about it, because you know given the recent situation around the world, Canada is one country that allows you to stay without, if you get the PR or work permit, without any restrictions, rather than other countries where you've been given so many months to find a job. You have to go for a lottery work permit system. So, from that perspective, it really removes the basic hurdles. Then the next biggest hurdle is just finding that opportunity. That's it. So that's all I have to say. Sorry, I took a little long, Manan, today, but seriously, appreciate the opportunity to speak and being here today.
No, thanks to you for taking out time and giving your candid as well as experiential perspective to prospective applicants. And I can see you're having fun in Canada and really love the place. So all the best for you know the next year. This year is almost over, and happy holidays. And thank you again for taking out time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manan.